school, and John, by the way, was going to Beaver College at the time, and the boys will go to the women's college, and the women will come to the men's college for mixers. That basically is a chaperone event, and uh, there is no alcohol served. You have, Coke or whatever the soft drinks are available there. And that's when I met Joan first. And she was sitting there in the corner, so I asked her if she wants to dance. And this was my first experience as well. Getting so close to a woman, because back home, if you touch somebody, you don't wash your hand for 3 days because you had that touchy feeling. But here, this was the first time, and I had a slow dance with John, and that was the first experience in America. And then John was the city champion of tennis at the time from Beaver College. And then we made a date to play tennis. And that led to so many other dates. And that's how we first met. And then we got engaged in 1971. And we got married. As I said, I was staying with my brother the early years, and then I moved to another apartment in 40th and Spruce Street near the University of Pennsylvania, and it started there. We got married in 71, and we had our boy Stephen, and Father A.T. Abraham. He was at Princeton University at the time. He was the one baptized Stephen, and also my nephew. We had a double baptism, Paul Workey Jr., and we had that in the Methodist church in Chestnut Street. Then came Christina after 5 years, and I had a job with Lid Brothers, a department store, and once I graduated, I got a job with Temple University. I was the Dean of Students for Student Affairs there for about 7 years before I went to work for in an industry, Mobil Oil Corporation, with the help of John's father. He was the vice president of marine sales. So he got me into Mobil Oil Corporation. I worked there for about 12 years. And then I was asked to travel to the Middle East. Mobil wanted me to go to Jeddah. At the time, my children was growing up, and Joan was traveling as well. She was the Inspector General for the government or the Navy, and so she was traveling, and so I felt it was at the time it was not possible for me to take a job in the Middle East, so I declined. And so then I started my own business. I had a few businesses in the Philadelphia area. And that's about my early years, and then with the kids we were always busy. Stephen was a member of the Philadelphia Boys Choir, and he traveled all over the world with the Boys Choir, and we were able to go to a few places. And Joan also were traveling. We were going to, Joan and I, we went to Japan, we went to Italy, and we traveled to, where else? We went to the Philippines, and so many other places. I cannot recall all the places that Joan you can chime in anytime you want. So it was early years were very difficult because we were so busy doing things with the kids, taking the kids from place to place. but we were able to manage. We never had an issue. Our parents, John's parents, helped us. Whenever they came here during the summertime, they lived in Florida, and they had a house here close by Leisure Town. So they would move here during the winter months, and the summer months they will. Winter months they will go to Florida, and the winter time they come here. Summer they come here when it is summer here. So we had a family who really helped us. And then my sister, we brought her here, and Lily, and she's married to a physician. They moved to Berwick, and she was with us. And I sent her back to home and get married, and she came back. She lived with us for about 5 years, and I don't know. That's about it. We had a very exciting marriage life, and John and I very seldom argue because I don't give even what do you call it, time to argue. I say, okay, this is the way or the highway. No, not really. We just discuss things. No, we just discuss things, and we talk about it, and we talk it over, and it never was an issue.
So much as your time is coming to an end, any advice you have for the parish here? 50 years is certainly an amazing milestone, right? So there has to be some success to this marriage. So what would you say to folks that are starting their marriage, or folks that are 25 years? What's the secret to a successful marriage of 50 years?
Well, basically, you want to say something?
You can go ahead. I'll chime in.
Basically, what it is when you don't go to bed, unhappy or angry at each other. You always talk about issues. If we had an issue, we will talk about it, and we pray together, and we say that let us overcome this issue. And of course, like any other young couple, we had our issues, our problem, especially we had our sister living with us. And then I had brought my mother here a couple of times, and she was here during our kids were growing up. And with both of us working, and John was traveling as well. And, we had enormous responsibility, but we were able to overcome all the other issues. Financially, we did not have that much of an issue because both of us were working. We were making good money. So we did not have any financial issues. We moved to Pennsylvania in Yardley. We bought a house there. And then we moved to, when I moved to work for Mobile Oil Corporation, we sold the house in Yardley, and we bought the house in Cherry Hill. We have been here for the last 44 years, the same house for 44 years.
Yeah.
Same house for the last 44 years. And we are very happy.
October 1st, 44.
So thank you again, Paul Uncle and Joanne. I think assimilating to this country recently is a challenge. I can't imagine what it must have been like 40 to 50 years ago. Interracial marriage is not an easy topic then or now. So congratulations on 50 years of a successful and happy marriage, raising successful kids, giving back to the community, helping our parish to be where we are today. So on behalf of the congregation, we appreciate everything you are doing. And we look forward to another 50 years of your blessed marriage life.
All right. I'm looking forward to another next 50 years.
Right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I think Mataikartianglo gave us some advice without even saying a word. What was the first response that he did when Lynn asked him a question?
What was that again?
And said, you want to say something? So that's advice for all men. Just sit with your wives and just let them talk. That's probably the best advice. Thank you, Mataikartianglo.
Thanks, Bhavik. That's very, very nice of you. Thank you.
That's right.
I think I lost connection at that point.
That works.
All right, so moving from one successful couple to another successful couple at 33 years of marriage, again, just, not just being a priest, but also very successful in our government, which is not a minor thing. Just, coming here and doing all that he has done, and auntie, and just raising beautiful children. We want to hear from our very Reverend Father Alexander Kuryanachin and Ajila Kwachama.
Thank you guys for the great opportunity. Matai Chan, I have known him for at least 44 years, I believe, since I came into this wonderful nation. I wish I could tell you a picture perfect story like Matai Chan did. It's not. My experience is definitely different because I was pretty much came into this nation when I was 16 years old. I did all this schooling and adapted into a culture that is definitely different than our Kerala culture. And Mataja knows that in the beginning, I was in Boston for a long period of time. And that was completely, there was no big community in Boston of Malayali community. And so I became and adopted into the Greek community. And all my friends were American friends, and I had none from the Malayali community at that time. And so, I was just like many of our children, was caught in a black hole, confused culture as to which one is right, which one is wrong. And so I had to make choices in life. And I think because of the great foundation that was laid in me by my parents, the Christian foundation, I was able to make the right choices. When it came for the marriage, my father clearly asked me, I still remember that conversation. When I said, I'm going to come back to Kerala and get married and get ordained. And first question he asked was that, if you know somebody, if you have somebody back in the States, let's do it. Talk about it. And he was willing. And I thought he was setting me up because, we are six. All my other, siblings didn't even see their spouses till they came into the church for the first time. So I knew my father was setting me up to say something wrong and then possibly punish me. But again, I didn't have anybody. That was not my priority. Therefore, my priority was education. Done that. The seminary as well as secular life, I told them that I'm now ready to get married. And you find me somebody. That was my answer back there. And the story of our love is strange. Most probably unlike many of you. I went and saw Ajita on a Thursday, on a Thursday. No, on a Saturday.
He came to see me on one Sunday, then the next
Yes.
that following Thursday we got
engaged. So I went to see her on a Sunday afternoon. We got engaged. My friends at the government, they faint when I say this to them. Our love story. So I went and saw her on a Friday because on a Sunday, one of my upapan, my neighbor, and he knew her father, and he pretty much brought myself to his, her house, and I saw her on a Sunday. You won't believe it, and I was already at the monastery in Kollam, Chengamanad, preparing for the ordination. And in the middle of that, I went to see Baba Dirumeni. At that time, it was Basilios Padaman. And this was the strangest thing about love. I went and saw him to book him for my ordination and my wedding. So my wedding date was fixed on June 14th. My ordination date was fixed on June 28th. Okay. And so Baba asked me point blank, where is the girl from? Where is the girl from? I told him, I don't have a girl. And he goes, he scratches his head and he said, Shamacha, Odiva, Odiva, Odiva. So there was a room full of Shamachans and Achans. And Baba says, this is the first time in his life somebody came to invite him for a wedding without a girl. I didn't have anybody. So we fixed the dates and went back, and I saw her on Sunday. We got engaged on that Thursday and we got married on that Sunday. That is how our journey began. And I'll tell you something, uh, life is not always flowery. We had, especially distant relationship, had its challenges. She was back in Kerala for 2 years. I was here. And we had our ups and downs in the beginning of our married life, big time, because we didn't have enough time to learn about each other. But I can tell you something, the great foundation that was laid in me as well as in her from our wonderful parents of many, many years of married life, learning and the ups and downs in their lives, the arguments they had when I was a boy, how my mother reconciled, how my father reconciled. It was all centered around prayer, the faith. And that was the foundation of the relationship for my parents. I clearly knew there were really hard times for my mother on certain days from arguments. On the other hand, my father had tough days of his own from the man. But at the end of the day, as Matajan said, they never went to sleep without reconciliation. And I never knew how they got up next morning after the argument, smiling, and Amma is preparing him the best meal that morning. I didn't know how. Then I realized that going through our married life, how that journey that they led, and being the best parents ever possible, best married couples ever possible through that journey of faith and trust and hope. And that is exactly, I believe, when we had our ups and downs, that faith and the trust and the prayer became the underlying foundation that kept us keep on building and building stronger and stronger in our relationship. I can tell you today, after 33 years, I cannot breathe without her being next to me. When she goes to Kerala for a vacation for 3 weeks, I suffocate, I panic, I I don't eat. I lose 20, 30 pounds when she goes because it's that separation anxiety, and the separation is amazing. Why? Because of the strong foundation, not because everything was so flowery and everything was so lovely. It wasn't. Because of the trust we have, because of the dependency we have on each other, on every single thing we do, we have our own flaws. As Lynn said, my biggest flaw in the married life is this: I'm running so fast, at least 1,000 miles an hour, 7 days a week for the last 33 years for sure, between the ministry, between the family, with being a parent of 3 kids, and with the government, everything else. But at the end of the day, I can tell you that the biggest flaw I have is that I don't get to tell her everything that is happening at that moment because I am making a decision on the fly. I could be flying to Ouagadougou. On that plane, I get a call. I made a decision to do something. When I come home, I don't remember to say that. So that is the biggest pet peeve I have, that I need to be more considerate that every decision I make, every thought I have is shared and mutually made. That on that aspect of my life, I'm a big failure only because of my schedule. But besides that, I can tell you, before we get up and walk, and we learn to live daily on the foundation that we laid in us through our prayer life and also our trust in each other. And one last thing I would say, many Malayalis get itchy and touchy about this aspect of it. The love, the romance, and the intimacy means the world in a married life. It means the world. I mean, that last word, we stutter because we don't want to say it. The intimacy portion really plays big in a relationship. So in terms of the married life, all these pieces of the puzzle has to play together and fall in its place. And some days one will fall out, jump out, but we need to put it back. How? Again, through prayer and the trust in God, and also these arguments or these dislikes is not the end of the world. We will work it out, because why? Because God made us one. We are inseparable. Nothing can separate us. Now, nothing. So with that, before Lynn says something, I want to give you a couple of minutes to talk about me.
He said himself what he is. I don't have much to say about him. You all know him, same way he is. And the biggest flaw about Alexander Kurinajan is he makes decisions, very rapid decisions, without even discussing me. I don't even know. Many people know about it way before I know about it. So that is the biggest flaw. It has been there all these years. Even now, he makes the same mistake. So I have learned to live with it. So it's not a complaint anymore, but I have learned to live with it, though. Then, other than that, there is nothing else. So, what else is there? I'm not a big talker like him, so I didn't say.
But in terms of advice, I mean, Lynn, just to wrap it up, in terms of advice, trust in each other. I would say the love without trust is just a picture that you are painting in a married life. You got to have those two. I always preach on every wedding. I preach them. The love and the trust goes hand in hand. You need to have it. Ultimately, we and you, each one of us, we are joined through our faith and our trust in our God. And that God is the one that keeps us together, regardless of what crisis we come across, what challenges we come across. And as long as that is a foundation in your life, guess what? You're going to be smiling like I am. Why am I smiling? Because she's there to support me. I know my God is always with me, but she unconditionally never questions even the decisions I make without consulting. And she would complain about it, but when it comes to a public stage and she is right there next to me as my strength and my refuge, and she would not argue or make a scene, hey, why did you do it? Or she would not. But that trust, and we depend on each other, we feed off each other. And even with all the health challenges I had in the last 2 years, many of you know the heart attacks, and you can still see in my Bell's palsy I had about a year. I'm still recovering from that. My shoulder, still recovering. All these things, I could see a wife, a friend, and a mother in her, in every single thing she does. She is all three in my life, and I will fall apart without her in my life. I can tell you that. That is our love, that is our story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you for the opportunity, Len.
Thank you, Achin. Thank you, Kochama. So we heard, I heard 6 different things that Achin and Kochama said. I heard about love, about romance, about intimacy, about faith, about prayer, and most importantly, trust, right? And then Achin hinted around one thing that I think we should all pay attention to. And if you're friends with him on Facebook, then you probably know what that one thing is. There are a lot of posts about meals that Kochama makes for Achin. And I think that is also a very important thing, ladies. So listen up. Make sure that in addition to the love and the trust and the intimacy, that you're also cooking some fabulous meals like Kochama does. So Achin did hint around that, even though he didn't quite say it. So thank you, Kochama, for making those wonderful meals for him, and for all that you're both doing for not just our church, but also for the country.
Thank you, Mola. Appreciate it.
So thank you, Achin. Thank you, Coach Ma. So I expect a big feast from Sharon on Friday after what she just said right now. But seriously, thank you, Achin. I think everyone admires everything that you've done, both in the secular field as well as the priesthood. And to balance all that is an incredibly difficult task, right? To be a father at home, be a father in the church, being an official in the US government, being a good husband, and a friend to many of us, right? So we appreciate you, and we're happy to have you as part of our parish. And same thing with you, Coach Ma. A man is only as great as the woman behind him. So thank you for all that you've done for our parish.
Thank you.
So next, rounding out our panel here of 33 years, Dr. Zach Zachariah and Sunitha Anti. So we're going to turn it over to you and ask if you could share some of the experiences that you've had, and being born in India, being raised in America, you probably had the same path many of the children that are growing up here. So really look forward to hearing from you and what your experiences have been.
So first, let me thank you, Lynn and Sharon, and also Sgmoc for organizing this kind of an event. This is really nice. We actually have 3 points each of us are going to bring up that we think are specific or that work for us. But just to give a little bit of background, so well as Paul Mathayankel did and Alexander Krinachin did. I thought ours was relatively fast. We met at a conference, and then the date was picked because my dad wanted Makarios Tirumeni. Tirumeni said this Sunday he's available, or this weekend he's available, and that was less than 3 months. And so we got married 3 months, which seemed fast, but nothing like what Alexander Krinachin just said. Yeah, that is amazing. That is faith. We have been married 33 years, and so I'm going to begin with one point, and then Sunny can bring her point, and we're just going to counterpoint. So one of the things that we just did, and sort of by accident, of course, we emphasized this idea of family prayer. And the basic idea, when my parents did family prayer, the youngest child would read the Bible, and then you'd stand and do the Kalma, and then you'd run and go. But we started this habit that we wanted each person, depending on, it was actually me that got to pick who gets to do the final prayer, or you have to pray for everybody. And to do that, we then spend time before the family prayer to talk about their day and what did you want them to pray. And of course, when the kids are little, if they forget something, so they started listening, and they also had to share their side. So one of the things that I want to emphasize with that anecdote per se is this idea that you set aside time every day for family prayer, but it's the time, the real critical part of that is that you're actually getting together, because it's so evident now. When I was growing up, and as Lynn mentioned, I feel like I'm a second generation. I came when I was 8 years old, and I grew up in this system. But we had one TV, and we'd all sit together to actually watch TV together. So there was that kind of together stuff. Nowadays, everybody has their own, Netflix channel or whatever else. We watch different things, and we have different. So there's no real together time. And the big thing that we, which I think is an important hint, is this idea that you set aside time and you talk about the day with the kids, with each other, and you have to have that vulnerability, which enables them to listen and trust you. And so one thing that I want to just give as a hint is this idea of setting aside time for the family, for husband and wife, just to talk about these things. And we do it every day, and it really makes a difference. So your turn.
Okay, so we thought this was going to be, sharing some lessons learned. So we actually put down some pointers. So what I was going to say from my mother's perspective was, as a mom, when you're a mom, you focus on your kids so much, and your husband becomes secondary. But you got to remind yourself, your primary relationship is your husband, right? Because guess what? The kids grow up and they leave home, and all you're left is with him.
She sounds so sad. I know. The kids are gone. She's just stuck with me. The house is empty. The house is clean. Oh my goodness, it's ridiculously clean. But there's nobody in the house. So it's just she and I.
So I just wanted to just make a point of, young couples out there, young moms out there, your primary relationship is your husband, and make that your priority. And your secondary is your kids. Of course, as they're young, you have to give a lot more attention, but don't forget your husband.
Great. So our second point, or my second point in this is I instituted this idea of hugs, and it's because I grew up in a family where, I got 2 hugs a year from my dad, one on my birthday and one on his birthday. Literally, he has a different style. That's just the way he is, and that's perfectly fine. So when I went to college or university and I came back, I started this tradition with my dad, is that I would hug him every day, regardless of whether he wanted to or not. And what happened is that, he then got used to this. And so when we got married, I'm heading out the door. I still get that hug. I do the good morning hugs with the kids. And, this idea of that physical touch, that is so important, So one of the things that I'd like to emphasize is this idea that you should have that, when you come into the house, you have to stop what you're doing and say hello, welcome each other, after work and this kind of thing. So it's an important aspect, and this idea of good morning hugs, and if I'm heading out the door, I have to give one more hug to say, okay, and I'll be back at such and such. And I think that's, again, a very good, an important part of a good marriage.
Oxytocin, guys. Oxytocin. Okay, so another point I wanted to just make. So Blessing mentioned prayer time. So when the kids were young, and I wanted to just say this, it says, children obey your parents in the Lord. And that was like an eye opener for me. I have to be in the Lord in order for me to expect that my children obey me. So part of our prayer time also included, reinforcement with Bible verses, right? Psalms 139:14, giving confidence to your kids to say, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Enable them to know that God loves them, every intimate detail about them, and give them confidence, especially those teenage years, right? And then, another one, 2 Timothy 1:7, God did not give you a spirit of fear and timidity, but of courage and peace and love. Those verses you teach your kids, and they'll remember. Even, Kezzy, 31 years old, she just reminds me, Mom, do you remember that Proverbs you taught me? God hates 6 things, detests 7 things: haughty eyes, lying tongue, hands that devises wicked, heart that devises wicked schemes. The whole thing, the way I'm talking about. It's kind of like it stays with them. So I just wanted to say, my 5 minutes are up, so I'm going to wrap up.
No, we have 5 more minutes. That was
no, that's 5 minutes are done.
Oh, I see. But we have 2 more points.
Okay, go ahead.
5 minutes to go. You're good. You continue.
5 minutes to go.
Oh, 5 minutes to go. Okay.
Go finish your point.
Oh, that's all I was going to say.
Okay, so we have the last. I have one more point. Yeah, I followed what you told me, and so I wrote out the 3 points.
Well, like
okay,
should you follow directions?
Yeah, I'm a teacher. What can I do? My third point with that, and the Bible verses is really good for the kids. Again, just what Sunny was talking. But the third point with us that we worked as a couple, we learned early on that it was impossible to share tasks equally. And so Sunny likes to have place that's super clean, everything is orderly and whatever, and I can step over things. I have no problem going around things, and so one of the things that we've learned is that we focus on our own areas, so we if Sunny's cooking, then I get to clean, I get to wash the dishes and that kind of thing. And I think that for couples, as an advice, I'd say it's not that you have to be doing it equally, but we do it together. So we have, we get together and we cook. She cooks and she tells me what to cut, what to do this, turn the stove on, do this, do that. So she's managing everything, but we're doing it together, and so this idea of doing that, because, and there's, I'm the one that's more likely to take I'm the one that takes the car to the mechanic, gets everything, all that kind of stuff, right? So it's never an equal kind of thing, but it's complementary, because there are things that we like doing, prefer doing. And so I think that was my final point. I think, and you have one more.
So my last point I wanted to make, so as a couple, you got to find, like I heard, you have common hobbies that you do together. You play tennis together, Joan and Paul Mathayanko, you guys watch movies together, Rennie and Biju. I mean, I heard those kind of common things that you do together. You know, for Blessing, growing up in Canada, up in the Rockies, and I grew up in the concrete jungle of New York. Our hobbies were totally different, and we had to find common things that we can do together. You know, so he liked skiing, so I learned to go like skiing, right? So doing things together is very important, because then that way you're connected and you're going and doing things together. So I just wanted to emphasize that sometimes you just gotta overcome your fear of certain things so that you can, accompany that other person in their passion of whatever that is that they want to go to.
And I'm very lucky that Sunny's, I dragged her to all these things that she, and she just was willing to try, going up to the mountain, doing whatever. And I think that's really cool. I'm just so amazed that Biju and Rennie are able to watch movies together, because we end up always having such different things to actually come in one movie. So I'm looking forward to their comments. Anyways, thank you very much, Lynn and Sharon, and all the wonderful panelists. Very, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the very practical advice. I can't wait to implement some of those, especially the one where you said that your husband comes first, because I'm sure you noticed I was a little bit late. Andrew decided Lynn wasn't coming first, so I had to stay with him until.
Oh, when they're young, that's okay.
I don't know. I'll have to tell him, because Lynn gets a lot of buddies anytime he tries to, come anywhere nearby. So we'll see how that goes, but I'll definitely try. All right, so this next couple, I was reading through the comments that they said, and the biggest pet peeve that Rennie Auntie has is probably the same pet peeve that Lynn would say about me, which is always working, always on the phone, always responding to messages and emails. So I'm sure that Lynn would agree that I probably very much do the same thing. So I can't wait to hear, Bijungal, how you manage that and just handle that. So looking forward to hearing from you two. Please welcome Bijungal and Rennie Auntie.
All right. First of all, thank you, Achan, and thank you, Lynn and Sharon, for including us in the panel discussion. When I saw the flyer, the list of panelists, I was so happy, because I can defer all your questions to more experienced panelists. We have Paul Mathayangal, Alexander Kurian, and Achan or Blasen. We can defer them all. So and we also, with the serious note, we also heard all good tips for good Christian family life during our devotionals this week. They were very enriching and very, very in-depth knowledge in Christian family life. What we are trying to do today is just to give some experience we had in our life, basically around three topics. How did we manage our work-life balance? How we raised our kids, God-loving kids, and how we participate. And we are participating in church activities with our hectic work schedule or life schedule, and how we are finding time. So first of all, I will start with thanking God for each other and for also for this opportunity to talk with you. So the first point I would like to mention is how we are managing our work-life church balance. So I see that as a triangle, right? It's a three-dimensional thing you need to manage. Ours was an arranged marriage. I didn't have to go and play tennis, or I didn't have to go hiking trips or swimming to find Rennie. So it was very easy for me to find my spouse. So I grew up in Kerala and Rennie grew up in Bombay. So the cultures was different. The most fear I had was to have street food from Andheri railway station. So Rennie was very fond of pav bhaji at the street side vendors, and I was very scared of eating out from the streets. And then slowly, I used to go first to get that. I got the taste of that food, and then I started liking it. So that's how the life goes. Once you are married, you need to get to know your spouse, each other, and start adjusting with each other. As you know, most of you know, we moved through 3 different countries. Actually, we were working in Bombay, moved out to Singapore for a couple of years, and then finally ended up in Philadelphia. So it was difficult to settle down at one place because we were continuously moving through different stages of life. And also because of our visa status, we had to, we were always in worry, actually, whether to go back. It was during that internet bubble. We reached Philadelphia in 2000, actually, July. And we were very fortunate to have our parents to settle down in Philadelphia in the beginning, right in Mumbai and also in Singapore, back in Philadelphia. So I especially remember that time, the first year when we were in the US, we had to leave Kevin in India for almost a year when we started our life in US. So that was a tough period for us, actually. And then we are praising God for giving us strength to manage that situation. And then that basically didn't stop us, coming to church or start attending our church services. We came to know about a Torresdale church through Kurula Kalelilangal. So we came over to the church, and then we participated in church activities like picnic, and then we started liking the church. So how we manage all these worries basically by the support of each other at the home front. If one person is busy with the work, the other person was supporting with the picking up kids from the daycare or cooking or cleaning. There were conflicts, and there were times when we were not talking to each other. So that was because of the ego at that time, the youth's time. And then slowly we understood, love for each other go beyond these conflicts. So that was our leading motto. And also we also had blind faith. We strongly believe with God everything is possible. So that really led us through these difficult times. So with that, I will take it over to Rennie for our second point.
Yeah, thank you. And so I did want to spend a few times talking about our children. And during the time we were settling down, we had our children. And it was a lot of things were happening at the same time. And we were settling down. We had work issues, work challenges, and children were racing in a new country, new culture. But there were a few things that were very important to us, and that played a major role in everything we did for our children. So one of them was our faith. We were very strong in our faith, and we believed and encouraged our children to follow our faith in everything they did, whether it's the daily prayers, attending church, before going to school, after coming from school, say their prayer. In the school, if they are attending an exam, say a silent prayer. So prayer was a very important aspect of our lives, and we really ensured that our children learned about it right from the beginning. Education. It was, we moved to the US, as Viju said, we moved from country to country, but one of the reasons we moved to the US primarily was for better education for our children. So again, we continued to encourage our children to have achievable goals, and we supported them. We, as parents, one of the things we did was we did not, even though we had all these other challenges happening, that did not stop us from quizzing them when they had a test, or teaching them math basics or reviewing homeworks. We knew that that strong foundation that that was needed, we needed to set it for them so that they could reach their goals. Then we also knew one of the other things that we did was we always talked to them. We talked to them right from childhood, all the time, whenever we could. We found time for them. And that led us to teach them that they could trust us with anything. They could, if they had a worry, even now, yesterday, we are away from home right now, and Kevin is away, and he had some issue, and he called us. And that's the kind of relationship we built right from childhood with him and with our daughter. So we would encourage everyone to talk to your children all the time so that they trust you. And when we send them out, we know that they have a foundation that will make them do the right thing. They will select right from wrong when they are, coming across a tough situation. They will know what is right and what is wrong and make sure that they select the right thing. And another thing, I just want to make sure we are in managing our time as well. We ensured that our children, we honored our promises. So if we made a promise to our children, we made sure that we honored them. So and especially if we thought they deserved something, we definitely honored them. Many of our friends know that I'm very terrified of dogs. And because this is a very recent story of ours, many of you know it, but we recently got a dog. And it is a result of a promise that we gave to Irene about 5 years ago, when she started participating in Bible quiz competitions. So even though I was very terrified of dogs, one of the things I did was I gave her she had a goal that she wanted to win. And I said, okay, if you win and if you, you get a prize, I will get you a dog. And she actually worked every year to get that prize. And then finally she got her dog. And when she won the prize, I had to honor the promise. And I got her the dog. And eventually now I'm no longer fearful of the dog. But the story, or what I'm trying to say here, is honor your promises, right? If you make a promise to your children, honor them, because they then start to love you. They start to respect you. Mutual respect for each other is very important for a parent-child relationship. And then another thing that we were it was very important for both of us was, I mentioned earlier about church and praying, but one of the things that was very important for us was that we were it's very important that we do not talk negative things about our church in front of our children, because our children, again, absorb things very quickly. So even if you see something that you may not like in our church, or something in the faith, or something that happened at church, try to talk about it privately, definitely not in front of our children, because children learn from what we say. And if we say things negatively, that will show them that maybe that's not the right path they need to take when they grow up. So that would be something as a church, as we are all in part of our church family, that's something that I would definitely encourage the younger couples to definitely think through when you're discussing things between yourselves.
All right. So the third topic is how to find time to do parish-related activities. So it is definitely hard to find balance family time, work time, and also support church activities. So it requires a lot of sacrifices from each family member. So early on, we got to know people through our family fellowship or Sunday school activities. So we started to get involved in church more frequently. And we realized each of us has got a critical role in the smooth functioning of church, because we are church. That's when we decided, when we were asked to do something, we will see as it is a calling, not as a burden. We may not be the perfect person for that job, but there's a reason God chose us to do those things. So we used to take as a privilege and used to support it. We never committed to do something without consulting each other. So that's one of the main things we may make sure whatever decision we make, we discuss each other before we make that decision. We live about 1 hour away from the church, and then it was very hard for us to participate in the church activities, especially on Saturday or Sunday. Sometimes we used to pack our bags, and kids also used to tag along. Sometime mommy also used to come with us. We used to go to Punu's house on Friday night so that we can reach church early on Saturday to do Sunday school activities. So that was whenever our kids see us packing on Friday, they know we have to pack up their homework so that they can get it done on Saturday. So for each and every activity, we partnered, as we mentioned before, to support each other. We may think things are easy for us, but it is difficult. But again, we knew we had to do it for our church. We understood if we put God first, everything is possible and everything will fall in place. And it did. We have been, truly blessed. Many things has happened to us, like miracles. We do not want to list them all here, but we believe they happened as God answered our prayers. So to summarize, we'll take it to Rennie.
So yeah, just to summarize what we just said, again, love and mutual respect for each other is very important in a Christian family life. Whether it's old or young, love each other, respect each other, and that will go a long way with relationship and making sure that we can have a good family life. And we also, stories are told about how we are taught that good deeds done by our parents result in blessings to us, right? And we truly believe that we are blessed because of a lot of the good deeds that our parents did. And so we want to pass that along to our children. And so every deed that we do, it's not that we are expecting something, but it's a belief that God will be with us when we do something. And so even if you think you don't have time to do something, just have the heart to do it. And God will find you the time, because whether it's spending time with your children or doing work for church, or just, as Sunita said, spending time with each other, make time for it, have the heart to do it, and you will find the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bridget, Uncle, and Rennie, Auntie. And I think my comments to you would also echo my same comments to Blessed Uncle, Sunita, Auntie. Both of you guys are living or lived the path that a lot of the younger kids in our church are going to be living soon. So I think there's a lot of folks that look up to you guys as role models. Growing up in this country and having professional careers and raising children within the church, it's not an easy task. I see Sharon wrote a note here saying the days are long, but the years are short. And I think that's probably something that you guys would certainly echo. As Blessed Uncle, you said the house is empty, and good Uncle Kevin's off to school, and soon you might have an empty house as well. So I think the message I got out of it is appreciate the time that you have with the kids. The days go by really fast, and also make time for each other and make time for the church, and and you guys do it really well, and you make it look easy. So congratulations to both of you guys on successful years of marriage. And again, we wish you the best for another 25 or 50 years, like Paul Mathaiko has over there.
Thank you.
All right, we're getting close to our time here. And so we wanted to save the best for last, which is our secretary, Santosh Nainant. Sini is a trooper. She just worked a long shift and she came here to join this panel. So we certainly appreciate Sini to make time and join us tonight. So also a quick reminder, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to list it on the chat to Shibochin or Ebiochin, and we'll field them if the time is allowed. So let me turn it over to our secretary, Santosh, and our first lady, Sini Nainant.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
I don't know how we're going to follow up everybody, but I don't know. I was thinking about what to say. I don't want to go into too much about how we met. I know both of our parents are probably on this and watching, so we'll skip a lot of that. But anyway, we are both individuals. Well, I am anyway. Sini moved here when she was in what, 9th grade?
9th grade.
Yeah, so I wasn't born here, but I was brought up here. So I know a lot of our panel, some of you were in India, most of you came and migrated here. But we were born and not born, but we were brought up here. So we have a little bit different of a perspective, but it's mostly the same. We can echo a lot of the things that people say, the other panelists have said when it comes to a successful marriage. We're married, 17 years, so a lot less than everybody else. But first of all, we're totally opposites in every way. She's very clean. I'm very dirty. Like bless an uncle, I can walk over things and ignore things for a long time. You know, she is very structured. I'm not. I can just go do whatever I want to do and, you know, figure it out as I go, and she needs a plan. So in every which way, we're very different, and we have obviously all the hardships that everybody else had for marriage. When I say hardships, I mean, you know, things that we need to figure out and compromise with each other. But I think thanks to our upbringing on both sides of our parents, our foundations are the same. And I think that goes for a lot of our members and other panelists. So I think the commonality is if your foundations are the same, I think you can build on that. And nobody said marriage is easy. And during that whole time, as long as your foundation is strong, everything else is somewhat instant, and you shouldn't sweat the small things too much. Worry about the things like your kids and your family. As long as those things are strong, everything else will take care of itself. So I think some of you guys heard my dad talk recently in the GSM conference, and you know, he said that we didn't go to church as much as we should have, maybe once or twice a month, due to the work schedules. We lived far away from church, so you know, we show our religion in different ways. I'm not as outward as other people, you know, either is Cindy, but thanks to her, you know, our foundation, our family is strong. For some reason, my kids are okay, thanks to her. You know, my kids, they do well in everything. For some reason, they pray every night before they go to sleep. I was telling Cindy, I don't know why they do that. I didn't teach them that. So it must be her doing all the good stuff. But like I said, it's what the advice I would give to people is, you know, have a good foundation as you go through the journey, and everything else will take care of itself. So that's really much all I have to say, unless Cindy has anything.
So I'll just kind of expand a little bit on what Santosh was saying. Santosh and I come from totally different realms of experience. So I grew up in India, in the Middle East, and then here. San grew up here. So I didn't grow up with a huge, with church as being a huge part of my life, because obviously in the Middle East, it's not something that's prevalent, that, you know, you go to church on Sundays. Like, it wasn't a thing. My parents did their best to instill some of that in our, you know, daily lives, and often failed. So I will say that it was, our marriage was a challenge in the beginning, because not only are we sort of very different in our personalities, we're different just from our life experiences up to that point. But there was so obviously we weren't an arranged marriage, and my parents were probably not very happy about that decision. But I will say that I saw a lot of the things that I wanted in my life partner in Santosh. So it was kind of a very deliberate things that I looked for in somebody that shared certain core values. It took probably about 15, 16 years into our marriage to kind of let go of all the other stuff. So I will say, you know, it was a challenge for me not to get upset with him about not taking his shoes off every time he comes in the house, or, you know, picking up his plates after he eats, and all these little things. And, you know, like just silly things that at the end of the day isn't really important. So it took me a long time to get to the point where I had to accept him for who he is, and sort of has made our marriage a lot stronger and happier, since I've kind of let go of all the little anal retentive things that I have going on. But yeah, I mean, as I was saying, the core values that we share are very important. That's how we treat our parents. Like his parents are like my parents, and it's very important to me that he treats my parents the same way. There is no mother-in-law, father-in-law, you know, and that was very important to me. That was very important to him. So that and how we raise our children, like I don't expect my kids to be, I don't know, you know, just different from me, but I expect them to sort of follow in the Christian beliefs as much as they can. So it was very important. And those are things that we kind of cherish in our married life. And I guess you have to find the things that are important to you and sort of work on those things and not worry about all the little things. That's all I got.
Thank you, Santosh and Cindy. I think there was a lot of good practical advice and sharings that you guys provided. We certainly appreciate the honesty, and you know, Santosh, you do a lot for our church, and coming from Allentown is not an easy task. So on behalf of the parish, we recognize and we appreciate that. And Cindy, we know what it's like to be married to Santosh, and some of the challenges you described does not sound easy. So, but we thank you too for putting up with Santosh.
Thank you.
So again, we're getting close to the end of our time here. A few questions came through the chat, so I'm gonna turn it over to our panel. The first question is to Alexander Koreanachin. One of our members wants to know, how do you manage cooking, gardening, and so many different things in your life with the busy schedule that you have?
It's very simple. I mean, I get that asked all the time. It's very simple. I love life. I love life, and I love the laughter. I faced so many challenges in my life for the last 58 years. You know, you would cry with me, you would laugh with me, you would be happy with me if I mentioned all of them. But at the end of the day, I truly appreciate the life. And because of that, I try everything humanly possible to do all the things I love in life, you know, including cooking and enjoying, and my partner, my 3 kids, the church. I mean, the church means the world to me. My ministry means the world to me. And then all my friends, you and others across the globe means the world to me. And I would not negotiate a thing in terms of sacrificing that relationship with them. So I am very active on social media. That is how my friends knows exactly. When I talk to them, I don't need to explain it. They already know my life. It's an open book. That is the way I live. So I truly appreciate God's blessing in life. That is the life itself. And if you don't enjoy that life to the fullest extent possible, tomorrow, if you fall and die, God is going to ask you, what the hell did you do? I gave you a blessed life. I gave you all these options, and you really screw that up, right? And I know that in my case, he's going to say, son, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. That is my attitude about life. I mean, you see me always laughing, and behind that laugh, guess what? There is some pain here and there. I know that, but I don't show that pain ever. And I laugh all the time. I hug all the time. You know that. And this coronavirus has done a miserable thing to me. So you watch out when I come back to Philly again. It's going to be a lot of hugs. Anyway, guys, listen. I love life, and I enjoy what I do every moment. I don't care about sleep. She knows that. I don't care. Even if it's a late night, we force ourselves to watch a movie. Even though I am sleeping, I'm sleeping. That is the way that we do things. And I really want each one of you listening to me, prioritize in life and enjoy life, because life will not stand for you. The time you lost today will never come back, never come back. So live your life to the fullest, full extent possible, and appreciate everything you have surrounding you to the maximum capacity, and be grateful for your friends and your families and everything God has done for you. That is going to give you the balanced life you need in this world this crazy world we are living in. Don't take anything for granted. No, don't take anything for granted. I hope I answered your question. And I love food. I love Kerala food.
Thank you, Achin.
I'm coming to see you guys.
Not us, unless Lynn's cooking. I have no knack for that.
That is not what I heard from Kurya Chayan. He's a great cook.
That is true. All right, so the next question. What is the balance of forcing your kids to participate in church activities versus giving them the right to choose? What age should we trust them to make the choice? So this question is for anybody. Once again, the question is, what is the balance of forcing your kids to participate in church activities versus giving them the right to choose? And what age should we trust them to make that choice?
One thing that I know with us is that I was until high school, they had to do every church competition and everything else. Grade 10 is when I said, or grade 10 or 11, I said, because by then they needed to focus on getting into university and all that stuff. But I thought it was a critical part of their life. So, and maybe that's, now after the kids were out of the house, I realized I was a little bit too strict, maybe, but I think if you don't because if you give kids a choice in some of those early things, we made them take piano lessons. They didn't have a choice about that, even though they argued with me vehemently every week, but they did it till grade 9, so for me, that was high school is where they're now at an age where they have to make choices. And, so that's just, if I had to pick a number, that's what I would do.
I would agree with that too. I think as when they're younger, it's it's ideal. They don't know. If given a choice, everyone would pick the easy choice, and that's natural. Even if we are given a choice, do you want to do this or not? Do you want to be in this panel or not? The easiest answer is no, right? But then when there's no choice, you have to do it, and then you work hard, and then you learn from every activity you do, everything you do. Even being on this panel, I'm learning from everyone, right? I'm actively listening. So every activity they do, the children do, they will learn from each of those activities. So and again, I think it's critical, like when I mentioned about the dog and everything, it's critical that the kids, when they participate in activities, when they lose, it's not about winning. That's really what I think we should be talking to the children about. It's not about winning, it's about participating and doing your best. Doing your best, not just participate for the fun of it. Do your best and then leave the rest to God. And God will find the way for whatever is right for you. So that's what I believe.
And one of the things kids need to learn at the early stage is how to face with failures, right? So at schools, there's very less opportunities for them to do that. And then we are against the competitions, but those competitions sometimes give them opportunity or flexibility to face with those failures. Okay, there's another chance next year or next time. So it's not end of the world, but that will make them stronger. And when they grow up, they will be able to face more bigger challenges, within their capacity.
And let me just add a couple of things. I mean, from our life, it was just the opposite in terms of forcing kids to do things. For example, whether it's competition or any of those stuff. Neither one of us really, impose on the kids, you must do this, you should. And our priority was just like, my father was Sunday school teacher for 40 years. I would say that in my life, it was living by the example. My parents meant the world to me. My father, I would say more than my mother, my father laid the Christian foundation in me. He was very strict. And in our home, that is exactly what we have provided, that between the two of us. That is one thing I really want to leave behind for the younger parents who are listening to us. When it came to, Ajita came after 2 years, and when we were planning about having kids, one of the very important decision we had to make was the future in terms of having children and how we're going to manage it. And she with the triple masters, and I said, something, you go to work, I'll stay home. And that didn't go that well. She said, I don't think so. You go to work, I'll stay home. Why? Because we said if we are going to have kids in this culture, we need to make a choice between two things. One is teaching the kids the right foundation. Second thing is money. To me, money is nothing. I can make and spend money any day. Second job, I'll make more money. But she decided to stay home and homeschool the kids and make sure my three children got the great foundation they have. I know that just like you heard from all of you, that even if I throw them in the middle, throw them in the middle of the ocean, guess what? They're coming back home to a Christian family because that is exactly the foundation they got. I have no worries. My kids are now, finishing colleges, and I have no worries in terms of us leaving them behind alone, because I know that they have the greatest foundation and they're going to live by the foundation, not just by carrying a Bible around. Through their words and deeds, they're going to be known as a Christian. That is all that matters to me. That is exactly what mattered to my father. And that is exactly how I am living, how we are living in our life as a Christian. So that is the way. So make you really for the young couples who are listening to me today, and I would definitely beg to you to make great priorities and prioritize your life. This coronavirus really taught us nothing else matters. No matter what kingdom you build, doesn't matter, because God is in control. And therefore, as I said, prioritize your life, live the life to the fullest extent, and take care of your kids, because they won't stand still. You need to take care of them.
Thank you all for all of the advice that you gave and for the answers. Because of time, we're not going to open it up to questions, but of course, you know where to find all of our panelists should you have any questions. And I think that's one of the most important things that you have, or I should say we have, all of these couples that are in our church that we can go to get advice. So every day, we talk about something and we're like, we don't know how so-and-so did it, because every day is so hard. As Lynn said, the days are long. Even though the years are short, the days are really long. So you guys are all certainly people that we look up to for various things every single day. I'm sure that at least once a week, we wonder how you guys did it, knowing that it was even more difficult years ago. So we really appreciate all of the values that you not only instilled in your own children, but also are instilling in the younger generation of our church, including us. We honestly do talk about you guys in a very positive way about this, what would you guys do in this situation? Like running around like crazy, but to hear that is so important, to have that strong foundation, not only for ourselves, but obviously for our children and for our church. It really was nice to hear that from all of you. So we have to just, keep remembering that, have that strong foundation. And some themes that we heard along the way was putting God first. That is probably the most important thing that we heard from all of the panelists. Put God first, no matter what. Have that strong faith and have that strong trust in each other, in God, and in our kids. So just remembering all of those key factors. And last but not least, making sure that prayer is a part of that strong foundation to build that life that we want for ourselves and for our children. I want to just wrap up with a quote that I read that I think is relevant to everything that everybody talked about today. Life is so short. We spend so much time sweating the small stuff, worrying, complaining, gossiping, comparing, wishing, wanting, and waiting for something bigger and better, instead of focusing on all the simple blessings that surround us every day. Life is so fragile, and all it takes is a single moment to change everything we take for granted. Focus on what's important and be grateful. You are blessed. Believe it, live your life, and leave no regrets. So let's pray that we can live those words and all of the words that we heard here today. And we want to wrap it up by turning it over to Kevin for a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ranjiji. Thanking God for giving us another opportunity to come together and talk about a very important topic. which is marriage. In our community, marriage is a very important topic. And thank you, Sgmoc, for arranging this. Moderators, you guys did an awesome job. I know the 1 hour is not enough to talk about this topic. It doesn't matter how many panelists you have and how many hours you have. This is not a simple topic to talk about in 1 hour. So you guys did an awesome job. All the panelists, I want to thank Matai Kudianko, John Auntie. Thank you, Alexandra Kurinachan, Ajil Kochama. Thank you so much for your wisdom, your wise words, and also Biju Mani, Rennie Biju. Keep up the good work for our church. You guys rock with all the stuff that you guys are doing. Sandosh Chach, Tinichichi, yep. You guys know what you guys do. So thank you. And എല്ലാ പാനലിസ്റ്റും ആ കൈയൊന്ന് പൊക്കി എന്നെയും കൂടെ ഒന്ന് അനുഗ്രഹിക്കുക. കാരണം ഈ ഏകദേശം ഇതേപോലൊക്കെ അനുഗ്രഹങ്ങൾ എനിക്കും കിട്ടട്ടെ, ഒരു എലിജിബിൾ ബാച്ചിലർ എന്ന നിലയ്ക്ക് എനിക്കും കിട്ടട്ടെ എന്ന് ആ കൈ പൊക്കി എന്നെയും കൂടെ ഒന്ന് അനുഗ്രഹിച്ചേക്കുക. So that's pretty much it. Thank you everybody that joined us. ആ വീഡിയോ ഒന്ന് ഓൺ ആക്കി കണ്ടോ മനുഷ്യ എന്ന് പറയാനുള്ള ആ ലുക്കൊക്കെ ഞങ്ങൾക്കൊന്ന് കാണണമായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ വീഡിയോസ് പലരും ഓൺ ആക്കിയിട്ടില്ല. പക്ഷെ എല്ലാവരും വന്നവരെല്ലാവർക്കും താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച് ഫോർ ജോയിനിങ് വിത്ത് us tonight.
Okay, thank you, Kevin, for that wonderful thank you note. Okay, so thank you everyone again for the moderators. You did a wonderful job, especially preparing that. Everyone appreciated the flyer, so that really made. So also the way that you presented everything, so very well. So thank you for that. Thank you all the panelists, Matai Kutingal, John Auntie, Dr. Zachary and Sunitha, Auntie Sunitha, Pin, Biju, Mani, and Rennie, then Sandosh and Sini. Also our beloved Alexandra Kurinachan and Ajil Kochama. So I wanted to thank everyone for this. Time so we'll wrap it up with the word of prayer. Since Alexandra Kurinachan is here, so I request you to pray for us and let's
bow our heads. So Heavenly Master, our Creator, we thank you for this blessed evening. Thank you for bringing us to worship thee and glorify thee and praise for the amazing blessings and grace you have showered upon us through this wonderful event that you have taught us from each other, and also help us to learn from each other, from our experiences that we have shared. Thank you for keeping us together as married couples so we can share this wonderful experience we had in